So surprise, surprise, the city of angels, Los Angeles again, the city of demons. Throughout my lifetime, unfortunately, I've seen Los Angeles under siege. I can remember two instances in particular. The riots of Rodney King when I was in high school in the mid-90s, and then the Summer of Love in 2020, when Los Angeles was like many rad left cities that went off the rails, as they called them, peaceful protests, but they rioted in the name of George Floyd. And here we go again. Trump was president in an election year in that summer of 20. Now he's back. He was POTUS 45 then. Of course, he's POTUS 47 now. His first summer back in the Oval Office as America's commander-in-chief. And how does the rad left combat Trump? By allowing the troublemakers to kick up all kinds of aggression and just make all kinds of trouble. And LA is leading off this weekend. Illegal immigrant, documented criminals like this piece of garbage right here with a rap sheet should have never been let into the United States. They're kicking up trouble. You've seen agitators proudly display the Mexican flag, pose in front of it. The trash needs to be taken out. President Trump, if there's one thing he does well, the old saying goes, life is experience's best teacher. He learned from the mistakes of the past. He didn't act fast enough in the summer of 2020. I was one of several Americans who voted for Trump time and time again, 3 times, you betcha, asking that summer of 2020, what's taken so long? Well, guess what? They unleashed some of our nation's finest. 2,000 National Guard troops on this day 3 of protest out on the left coast have hit the ground to protect 2 federal buildings in Los Angeles. Let me roll the video. That's day 2. They're protecting a federal building in Westwood and in downtown LA. This will go into day 3. They tried to also, the protesters, take over Highway 101 today. And they're busy lighting cars on fire. Of course, the 3-hour time difference, and now with daylight getting later into the 8 o'clock, almost 9 o'clock hour, when it gets dark, it'll be past midnight on the East Coast, and we could wake up with all kinds of shenanigans, unfortunately, happening in Southern California. Now, the way Trump was able to leapfrog Governor Gavin Newsom, who he calls, appropriately so, Governor Newscum, to allow the National Guard troops to get in there quick so this wasn't going to fester, is by using a rarely used power. I'm going to read to you, presidential power and authority. And there you see the New York Post headline, Trump wields little used law to deploy National Guard to LA riots despite Governor Newsom's protest. And it's called 10 U.S.C. 12406, part of the U.S. Code on Armed Services, as you watch the videos of the troublemakers, as I read this, that allows the federal government to mobilize the National Guard in the event of a rebellion or danger of a rebellion against the authority of the government of the United States. So this is preemptive maintenance right here by President Trump, and what I call taking care of business. In other words, what we saw in the summer of 2020, it ain't happening. Not on Trump's watch, the second go around as POTUS 47. And it's not going to be easy, but every single one of these pieces of trash who are proudly displaying their country's flags, making trouble, breaking the law by illegally, unlawfully being in the United States in the first place, they're going to get caught and they're going to get shipped back to where they came from, because America, Los Angeles, we all deserve better.